Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtaprasata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ramacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kundada Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Mayapanodip Dham Ki Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Gangamai Ki Yamunamai Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution Program Ki Shri 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 Radharas Bihari Lalita Vishaka Ki Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki God Premanande all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, text number 21. Tataha saptadashe jataha satyavatyam parasarat chakre vedataro shakha drishtva pumsho alpamedasaha. Tataha saptadashe jataha satyavatyam parashara chakre vedataro shakha drishtva pumsho alpamedashaha. Tataha saptadashe jataha satyavatyam parashara chakre vedataro shakha drishtva pumsho alpamedashaha. बोलिए.
तथा सप्तदशे जाता सत्यावतम परासरा चक्रे वेदतरु शाखा दृष्ट्वा पुंसो अल्पमेधसा
एसी ऑन कर देना वापस. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Sri Vyasadev appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashar Muni, and he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general were less intelligent. Originally, the Veda is one, but Srila Vyasadeva divided the original Veda into four, namely Sama, Yajur, Rug, Atharva, and then again they were explained in different branches like the Puranas and the Mahabharata. Vedic language and the subject matter are very difficult for ordinary men. They are understood by the highly intelligent self-realized Brahmanas, but the present age of Kali is full of ignorant men. Even those who are born by a Brahmin father are in the present age no better than the Sudras or the women. The twice born men, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, are expected to undergo a cultural purificatory process known as samskaras. But because of the bad influence of the present age, the so called members of the Brahman and other higher order families are no longer highly cultured. They are called Dvijabandhus, or the friends and family members of the twice born. But these Dvijabandhus are classified amongst the Sudras and the women. Srila Vyasadev divided the Vedas into various branches and sub-branches for the sake of less intelligent classes like the Dvijabandhus, Sudras and women. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पसिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्री अद्वैत गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. So the entire mankind has to be indebted forever to great personalities. One was Valmiki Muni, another is Vedavyas Muni. Right? So one sage said, say Rama, another sage said Krishna. That's why Indians are advised, say Rama and Krishna and become progressive in their lives. So, today we will talk about Sri Vyasadev, how he got that name, how he was born and all that. There is one king, his name is Uparachari Vasu. Uparachari Vasu. He got that name because by the blessings of Indra, he can actually go up on the mountains and fly and all that. Upari means high. Uparicharavas. So he can move around like that. So one day he went for some hunting and all that. So in that forest, he was where there is very nice cool breeze and very nice sound of all the birds chirping and all. So there is very heavenly atmosphere where he became affected by Cupid. So because of that, whatever, he discharged his semen. Previously, men belonging to Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, especially, they will not waste semen. So he collected that semen on a. So all this, because he was blessed by Indra, he can do all those things. He collected it on a leaf, and then he called one bird. Then he said, you know, put it in the womb of my wife, like that. So when that bird was carrying that leaf, another bird thought he's carrying some food. Then they had a fight, and then that leaf fell into the Yamuna, and that was swallowed by one fish. When a fisherman on the bank of Yamuna threw the net, and then he caught this fish. When they cut open, they found one very boy and a girl. They are born. So previously, whatever is not yours, you found, like even now also, like all these treasuries and all, they belong to the government. So he took that boy and the girl to Uparichara Vasu. So Uparichara Vasu could understand that boy and the girl, they were his children. He kept that boy with him, and then he gave that girl to that fisherman. He said, gift to you. So that boy's name was Virat Maharaj. Right? Matsyadesh Raj. Who is Virat Maharaj? Huh? Huh? Uttara's father. Yeah. Right? In his kingdom only, Pandavas stayed during Ajnatavas. So his daughter only was married to Abhimanyu, Uttara. Then he had a son also, Uttar Kumara. That girl's name was Satyavati. Right? So she was, previously Kshatriya's daughters means they are very, Raj Gharana, very beautiful. I used to study in a place called Vijayanagaram in Andhra Pradesh. So there, in Vijayanagaram still there is a palace and all that. So we used to go to get a glimpse of, Rajkumaris. Right? That is around 40 years back. Rajkumari means the daughter of the king, that Vijayanagaram king. Like that. So sometimes they would come in the balcony and all that stuff. Otherwise, they won't come outside, and walk on the street so that everybody can stare at them. They are royal people. Huh? Royal, So, anyway, Satyavati is extraordinarily beautiful girl because she is a daughter of Kshatriya, Uparichara Vasu. But she was brought up in the fisherman's colony, and because of catching fish and all that, a very bad smell used to come from her body of fish. That's why she is also known as Matsyagandhi. Matsyagandhi means? Huh? Matsyagandhi. So one day, this Matsyagandhi, so she used to row the boat also when sometimes when her father is not available or something. So he is not only fisherman, they used to have boats also, and then they used to carry the people from across the Yamuna. So one day, when she was carrying, when she was rowing the boat, so in that boat, on the one of, the passenger was Parashar Muni. Parashar Muni is Vedavyas in the previous kalpa. So before Vedavyas, our Vedavyas, he is the Vedavyas. He is the Vyasa of previous kalpa. His greatness one cannot describe. Parashara Muni's name, father's name was Shakti Muni. Shakti Muni's father's name was Vasishta Muni. One day, Shakti Muni, he was actually walking on the narrow path in the farm fields. One Rakshas, one king, he was coming in the opposite direction. So there is only space for one person to walk on the. So Shakti Muni said, I am a Brahmana, you should give the way. That king said, I am the king of this place, I own this place, so you should give the way. Like that they had an altercation. So Shakti Muni became very angry and then he cursed that king that you become a man-eating Rakshasa. Right? That same man-eating Rakshasa, he ate Shakti Muni once. So he became victim of his own curse. Now, when Shakti Muni was killed, his wife was pregnant. One day, Vasishta Muni, so every day Shakti Muni, he would get up and chant Vedic chants, Vedic mantras. Om Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha, like that. One day, when Vasishta Muni got up, when he was about to go for taking bath in the river, as usual, he heard the Vedic chants. Now he was very confused. अरे मेरा बेटा तो मर गया अभी, who is chanting the Vedic mantras? He was surprised. Then his daughter-in-law said, so that it is coming from my womb. So she was carrying Parashar Muni at that time. So when he is in the womb, he is chanting Vedic mantras. अभी हमको हो गया 40-50 साल, अभी भी नहीं आता है हमको. Right? Vedic mantras. Like that. So, Vedic, oh my God, then he understood that the child in the womb is a great personality. So he was brought up. One day, there is a huge assembly of the sages. Huge, like who is who, they all came. Right? Nowadays, all these degraded people, stars, movie stars, they are considered very great. And when they assemble somewhere in some function or something, all these photographers, they very shamelessly beg them to give the stills photograph, and then they stand there and they click photographs. So they get some 40 rupees, it seems. They sell to the websites for each photo. They get. That's why they stand. They wait at the airports and various stalls and functions. To get a click of photograph. Then anyway, better not talk about them. But previously, the Brahmanas, sages and all, they were stars. And people used to die to get a glimpse of them. That's why Narad Muni, when in whole 7th Canto Bhagavatam, it's about Prahlad Maharaj. Narad Muni spoke as entire 7th Canto Bhagavatam in the assembly of Rajasuya sacrifice. So he was glorifying, Prahlad Maharaj, the glories of Prahlad Maharaj in 7th Canto Bhagavatam. After hearing the greatness of Prahlad Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj became very depressed. How can I become a devotee like Prahlad Maharaj? Then Narad Muni encouraged Yudhishthira Maharaj, don't worry, you are very greater than Prahlad, because usually, normally, one cannot have darshan of Narad Muni, Vedavyas Muni, and Vasishtha Muni and all that, even though they are walking on the streets, because they are covered by effulgence. So if somebody wants to see them, the effulgence has to be removed, like that. So, like that. So such sages, which are impossible for common men to be seen, such sages, they roam around your palace in the gardens. They wait. Why? Because Krishna is living in your palace. If by chance, if Krishna comes into the balcony or something, or comes outside the palace, they will have a glimpse of Krishna. So like that. So don't worry, the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a friend of yours, and he always lives in your palaces. Anyway, that is Markandeya Rishi. He lives, for 7 kalpas or something. Very oldest living sage. So, at that time, Parashara Muni was 6-year-old boy. He was sitting on the lap of Vasishtha Muni. When Markandeya Rishi entered the assembly, he offered obeisance to Parashara Muni, who was sitting in the lap of his grandfather. So everybody was shocked. Everybody was shocked. So why did you offer obeisances to Parashara Muni where so many Parashara boy, where so many other sages are sitting, so many, Diggaj, ek ke upar ek se ek badkar Diggaj hai. Even though I lived for so many years, he is senior to me. Parashara is senior to me, because his remembrance of Krishna is more than I remembered in my entire life. Means you can just imagine. So a greatness of a person is known for how much you are remembering Krishna. Right? We hardly remember Krishna, right? क्यों संतोष? हाँ? Huh? So that is his greatness. Parasar Muni. Anyway, one day Parasar Muni, he was traveling in this boat. So he is the one who actually compiled Vishnu Puran. He spoke Vishnu Puran. So in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, Parasar Muni was considered a very great personality. And they offer very great respects and right, in glorification, because they read Vishnu Purana just like we read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana. So it is very great. So one day, so this Parashar Muni is the one who compiled Vishnu Puran. And so there is a very nice description of Prahlad Maharaj's pastime in Vishnu Puran, which I spoke in my Katha, Narsim Katha. So mostly, one day actually is entirely from Vishnu Puran, Narsim Katha. So one day, when Parasar Muni, he was crossing the Yamuna, that time Satyavati, she was, driving the boat. And suddenly, he saw a great muhurta appeared, and then a spark appeared in his heart that if he can produce a child at this moment, a great child, Mahapurusha, will be born. Like that. So that is why he requested Satyavati that combine with me, a great son will be born to you. Then Satyavati said, so producing sons, producing children is a great science according to Vedas. So they used to have Garbhadan Samskara. So Prabhupada said, and Prabhupada writes in third Canto Bhagavatam, if a woman wants a son, Prabhupada said, she should be more attractive. Means the woman should decorate herself very nicely with all the makeup and nice sarees and jewelry and all that. Then when the man is attracted more to the woman, a son is born. If the woman is attracted more to a man, a daughter is born. So that is the science. So that is why when when Kardamuni asked Devahuti that after she served him a lot, then after that he said, what do you want? They said she wanted Anga Sangamam, she wants to physical association. Then she said, okay, but I am very dirty. I am looking very ugly, because she was serving and neglected. Her hair became matted and all that. So she has to be beautiful. Even then, first children were 9 daughters were born. Prabhupada said, because for so long, she deprived herself, all this sense enjoyment and all. She was greatly attracted to Kardama Muni. She was very lusty. That is why 9 children are born. 9 daughters are born. Anyway, this is science. So that she said, I am smelling very bad. smelling very bad. Because she was, taking care of all this, all this, she was catching fish and dealing with the fish and selling fish and all that. Said, okay, you will become by my blessings. Yojana Gandhi means now the fishing, that bad smell will go. You will attain a divine fragrance which will spread to 8 miles. That's why she is known as. Now Matsya Gandhi became Yojana Gandhi. That Yojana Gandhi said, if I produce a child, then I will lose my Kanyatvam, virginity. Then nobody will marry me. I said, okay. A child will be born, but you will not lose your Kanyatvam. And then how can you combine, how can we do all these things, openly? They are in the middle of Yamuna, crossing Yamuna, like that. So, he said, no problem. Then he covered the entire area with his mystic powers. It's all became covered. Like that. So, during that moment, they have combined. And then a child is born. So, she was not carrying 9 months and all that stuff. Sadhyo, it's called Sadhyo Garbha. Sadhyo Garbha means immediately born. And not as a child, like Draupadi, she's also Sadhyo Garbha. She was not born as a child or anything. Like that. So he was born as a man, fully grown up man, with all the beard and all that stuff. And because he is born in an island, and because he is dark in color, complexion, he became Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. Right? Now you know why Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. He is known as Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. So Krishna Dvaipayana Muni, he said, I'll be known as Satyavati Putra, my dear mother. Whenever you are in need of anything, you want anything, just call me. Just remember my name, Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. I will appear. Right? That is why. Then Parasara Muni went his way. Her son went his way. Parasharatmaja, that's why he is known as Parasharatmaja. Then he went to Badrika Ashram and he was doing meditation, tapasya. Prabhupada explains that Sthitadhira Muni, he is Vedavyas Muni, he is known as Sthitadhira Muni. Muni like that. Anyway. So, meanwhile, all of you know the story. Shantanu Maharaj, he became attracted to Satyavati. Right? And then this Satyavati's father, that fisherman, he kept a condition. Because, if you go to the PV, this shopper stop, they have all these, scents. Sometimes I go and inquire. कितना है 20,000 30,000 वो gold जैसा they cannot use I think all those expensive scents. No, even people purchase, they should keep it 30,000 bottle थोड़ा right थोड़ा डालेंगे क्या बोलते हैं चैनल सेंट है शिनर और कौन सा सेंट है? हाँ? Branded, all this, anyway, uh, all these brands, they stand there and they invite. Aye, you want? I say, yeah, give me. Huh? Even if I have money, I will not purchase, right? So, all devotees, we are very simple. We don't use all these scents and all, fragrance. But people are crazy. They should smell good because women, men get attracted to, good smelling women and whatever. If the, that is why it is said, when a husband comes back, the wife should not be standing in the kitchen and cooking and sweating and smelling bad. By the time husband comes back, she should finish everything, you know, dress herself nicely, put all the fragrances, scents and all, and then she should be looking good and she should be smelling good. So when the man comes back, then he will think, "Arey, I came back to Swarga." Right? Otherwise, as soon as a man comes back, the wife is very dirty, the hair is loose, sweating and smelling bad, and then she starts, बबलू का फीस नहीं भरा, किधर इतना देर से क्यों आया? किधर गया? फोन क्यों नहीं उठा रहे मेरा? You don't care for me. All that, then husband will think, from tomorrow I will sit in 5 gardens. I, I, when I was bachelor, I used to go to 5 gardens, for walk and all that, because I used to live nearby. So I would see some men, sitting there and passing time. One day I asked, what happened? After office, everybody goes to home. Because government officers, we leave quickly. Means we don't work hard in the government. 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock we leave the office. We don't. So by that 6 o'clock we are at home. We used to be at home. But these becharas, 7:38, 8:30 like that, they used to pass their time. अरे घर में गया तो wife किट करेगी. 5 gardens is heaven for me. Like that. Anyway, so it's all great science. Now nobody cares. The wife also works, husband also works. Huh? And then they hardly meet with each other. And then the husband is so busy, the child, hardly sees, right? And she asks, who is this uncle, mama? No, he's not your uncle, he's your baba. Like that is the modern civilization. Anyway, Shantanu Maharaj became very attracted to Yojana Gandhi. So her father kept a condition, that son of my daughter should be the king. But Shantanu Maharaj already had Bhishma Dev. Then Bhishma Dev came to know, all of you know. Then he took a vow that I will never marry. Then I will give the kingdom to whoever is born. Like that. Then Satyavati was married to Shantanu Maharaj. So Shantanu Maharaj, that is why Shantanu Maharaj is a very sorry man. Because marriages should not be, when somebody is getting married, there should not be any preconditions. Huh? Yeah. Out of love. Because the first marriage also failed because Ganga kept a condition that, whatever I say, you should not oppose. Whatever I do, you should not oppose. On the day you oppose me, I will leave you. Then so many children, they were put in a Yamuna, Ganga. Then the last child, when Bhishma was born, finally he opened his mouth. Right? He chastised her. You cruel woman, how you can, put all your children in the Ganga? Like that. Then he said, see, you said no. You said, you opposed. I'm leaving. He left. She left. Then he was crying, Ganga, Ganga. Then this also condition, because he was very sorry that a great son like Bhishmadev cannot rule. He was very sorry because of my lusty desires. I did injustice to my son. Like that. Ganga Putra. Like that. He was very sorry man throughout his life. Even though he is married to a very beautiful, two beautiful women. One is Ganga, another is Satyavati. Like that. Anyway, so Satyavati was married to Shantanu Maharaj, and then they had two children. What are the names? Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada. Chitrangada, he very funny. He met with one Gandharva. His name was Chitrangada. Then, for a simple, silly reason, they had a fight. So that Gandharva asked, how you can keep my name? So Chitrangada said, तेरा बाप का है क्या, ऐसा कुछ बोला होगा? बाप पे मत जाओ. झगड़ते हैं ना हिंदी में. बाप पे मत जाओ. So they had a fight, and then the Chitrangada killed this Chitrangada. That Gandharva Chitrangada killed Satyavati's son Chitrangada. Vichitra Virya, all of you know, he was married to Ambika and Ambalika. Right? Ambika and Ambalika. And that guy, he was too sensuous, too much indulging in sense enjoyment. Because of engaging in too much sense enjoyment, his lifespan was reduced. Right? Lifespan was reduced. Some people, they say he died of AIDS. The symptoms in Mahabharata, describe his. Some people, they say he died of tuberculosis, Kshaya Vyadhi. Anyway, he died, and then without children. So, many people, scholars and all, they criticize the sages and all, but they do not, our rules and regulations, they do not apply to these great sages and all, because they are above human. They are superhumans. All these regular rules and regulations, they don't apply to them, even though they follow. Anyway, so that time Satyavati Devi, she remembered her son, Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. Then he appeared there. And then he was very, very effulgent, blackish in color. Said, what happened? What do you want? Said, see, I saw there is no here. So, you produce a child, that is called Devarena Sutotpatti. Now it is banned in the Kali Yuga because it is not out of lust that they combine. So, there are many rules and regulations for such an act. First of all, they apply, So Vedavyasa Muni, he said, she has to be very brave. So he applied oil all over his body, some kind of oil, like that. So he was looking very, very ugly. He has to he has to look very ugly, because the woman should not be attracted to in a lusty way to that person. Then in a pure consciousness they combine. So when he was actually beard and then matted hair and then blackish in color in the darkness. And then I applied oil. He applied some oil all over his body. So when she saw him, she became very scared. Then closed her eyes. Ambalika or Ambika? Ambika. Then what happened? Ambika, Satyavati asked, what? Everything went nicely, very nice son will be born, but because she is very scared looking at me, so a blind son will be born. That is Dhritarashtra. Then Ambalika was sent. When she saw him, she started shivering. That is why a son was born, with Pandu, pale, he is pale in color, some Panduruk, whatever. So then he said, one more time, try karo. Then again Ambika they sent. This in Ambika they said, I can't see that man, Baba. Like that. So she sent her maid servant. So she sent her maid servant. And because of that, Vidura was born. But they are known as Vichitravirya sons only, because the kshetra belonged to, Vichitravirya. Seed somebody might have put, but the kshetra belonged to Vichitravirya. Like that, they have some conception. All this kind of pure consciousness is not possible in Kali Yuga. That is why Devarena Sutotpatti is banned. What are the 5 things? Anybody knows? 5 things that are banned in Kali Yuga? Ashwamedham, Gavalambam, Sannyasam, Falapaitrikam, Devarena Sutotpatti, Kalau Panchama, Vivarjita. There are 5 things that are banned in Kali Yuga. One is Ashwamedham, killing a horse in the sacrifice. Gavalambam, killing the cow in the sacrifice. Then taking sannyas is banned in Kali Yuga. And then Falapaitrukam means offering meat to the forefathers is banned. And then Devarena Sutotpatti. Anyway, like that, Vedavyasa Muni is responsible for continuing the dynasty of Kuru Vamsha. Right? Kuru Vamsha. But these 3 are not considered as the sons of Vedavyasa Muni. So, after some time, these Dhritarashtra was grown up and all that. Then, very interesting thing he says. When Duryodhan was born, Vedavyasa Muni comes and tells Satyavati, please leave this place now and go to the forest. The things that are going to unfold, you will not be able to see. Now Kali Yuga is going to enter. Please leave. You will not, because they all belong to very high category people and like that. So he then Satyavati along with Ambika and Ambalika, they left the forest because she didn't want to see, because Vedavyas Muni predicted that now this Duryodhan, he is incarnation of Kali Purusha. So this man's activities will destroy Kuru Vamsha. So you will not be able to see, bear this, destruction of Kuru Vamsha. So that is why you better leave. Like that, Vedavyas Muni guided. The wonderful thing about Mahabharata is the writer himself is one of the characters in Mahabharata. Right? Vedavyas Muni. Vedavyas Muni predicted that in Kali Yuga, women and Sudras, they will become great devotees. Right? They will become great devotees. So they will have more intelligence to understand Krishna. Like that. So anyway, so Vedavyas Muni played a very great role. After the war was over, then Janmejay Maharaj, this is given in Harivamsh Puran. I'll search for it if it is there. Huh? No class? हमेशा के लिए anyway, I will recollect. So Janmejay Maharaj asked Vedavyas Muni. You are such a great sage. Why you did not stop Rajasya sacrifice? Because Rajasya sacrifice conducting is very, very difficult task. If it is not done properly, if it is not done properly, a great havoc takes place. Then he quoted some Varuna also. Then there is a Varuna also conducted Rajasya sacrifice. Something wrong happened, and then there was a huge war broke out, and then so many people have died, and all that stuff. So they say, then Vedavyas Muni said to Janmejay Maharaj that Yudhishthira Maharaj did not ask me whether I should conduct Rajasya sacrifice or not. So if they didn't ask me, why should I tell? Then he told one very interesting thing, that even if you know the future, what can you do? People are mad after astrology. um, you know, मेरा बेटी का शादी नहीं हो रहा है, ओ, बेटा का शादी नहीं हो रहा है, नौकरी कब मिलेगा, हाँ, बच्चा नहीं हो रहा है. Then they consult astrologers. They'll say Rahu Ketu ठीक नहीं है. They are not in proper position. Surya is very strong, in your Chandra is very weak. इसलिए शादी नहीं हो रहा है. It's something they say. Of course, I'm not saying they are wrong or anything, but uh, it may be there. So they have this concept, mangalik. If somebody is mangalik, शादी नहीं होता है, देर हो जाता है, or something like that. Kala sarpa dosha is there. That is why so and so is not getting married. Then they will say, conduct some yajna, chandi yaga, this thing, that thing, and then they get a lot of money, right? But Vedavyas Muni is saying that even if you know the future, what will you do? What can you do about the future? Like if it is going to happen, it will happen. Then he predicted that you are going to conduct Ashwamedha Yajna. A lot of bad things will happen in that Ashwamedha Yajna. Like this, so he predicted like this will happen. But still, you will do it. I'm telling you, right now I'm telling you that even if I tell you that Ashwamedha Yajna is very bad, you should not conduct Ashwamedha Yajna. So many bad things are going to happen. So now you don't do it. Even if I tell you, you are going to do it, because that is called destiny. And then same thing, whatever he predicted when Janmejay Maharaj, so then he said, you will be the last king to perform Ashwamedha Yajna in this age of Kali. So that's why after that no Ashwamedha Yajnas have taken place. So anyway, so he in that section, he actually, I wish, I don't know where, in what heading I noted, he noted down, he actually enumerated the various qualities of Kali Yuga and how it is going to happen, and all that. So anyway, so Vedavyas Muni is worried about the people of Kali Yuga. He was very, very merciful. So that is why one day when he was sitting in the ashram, in Badrika ashram, he was thinking about the future of Kali Yuga people. Once, during British rule, I think, or during Musliman Badshah rule, once something happened, and so they were actually crossing a river, Godavari River in Andhra Pradesh, and then they were traveling together, and then some people, when they were traveling, so their valuables were stolen, right? Something happened, and then they complained to the king. So who is there any witness? Said there is one Brahmana sitting. So they are North Indian people. All this. Then they said, this one Brahmana is witness. Then that Brahmana told, I don't know what they are speaking. I don't understand their language. But what they are speaking, I can repeat. So he heard them speaking in Hindi, that language. Even he is a Telugu man, but he did not understand what they are speaking. But he repeated what they spoke in that language. He is a witness. Like that, they were Ekasanta Grahi. Ekasanta Grahi means if they read once, they can remember. हम कितने बार पढ़ते रहते हैं, हाँ? आप लोग तो हाँ? हाँ? फिर भी आई एम बेटर, कितना सारे श्लोक आई कैन रिमेंबर. I will tell you, I recite every day 2 chapters Bhagavad Gita, in my memory, right? I recollect. Sometimes, during festivals or something like that, aisa ho gaya, some traveling and all, I could not recollect, means I did not recite the Bhagavad Gita, 2 chapters and all. Then even after reciting 2 chapters every day, like, so there is a gap, some 15, 16 days, right? 15 days gap is there. So I forget some shlokas, even though on a regular basis I recite those verses. Regular. So sometimes I have to quote or something, I forget some word or some line, and all that. So Kali Yuga memory. Prabhupada said in memory in Kali Yuga means noting down. We have to note down everything. Otherwise, then abhyas, So I can remember so many shlokas because I do abhyas. In my free time, that's what I do. Take some shlokas and recite them and try to understand. Right? So I advise all of you, at least learn few shlokas. Right? Learn few shlokas and then recollect them. I will tell you, while chanting Hare Krishna, your mind can waver, but still you can chant Hare Krishna. Our mind is making so many rounds, but our tongue and our fingers, they go on Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But our mind is roaming around. But in order to recollect the verses, if your mind is roaming around, you cannot recollect. Is it not? Huh? Mataji? Is it not? You have to focus your mind. You have to focus. Then only you can recollect. So I found a very great way to remember Krishna. Learn the shlokas and recollect the verses. And then along with that, your mind is focused. Your mind is, if I have to chant Dhruv Maharaj's prayers, if my mind is roaming around, I cannot chant. I have to focus, focus my mind and then recollect the verses with my intelligence. So that is why, if you see Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, before they were reciting prayers, it is mentioned, right? They fixed their mind and intelligence and then they started reciting the prayers, right? So I will tell you, it's a great, slowly, you know, uh, the remembrance of Krishna will increase for you. That is our goal, remembrance of Krishna. So the best way of remembering Krishna, I found out, you know that recite the prayers, recite the, learn the shlokas and recollect them. Then when you recollect the verses, that pastime also you remember. So that way, we can increase our remembrance of Krishna. That I found out in a very, it's a great thing. So I request all of you, in your free time, learn some shlokas. Then your heart is purified. Sanskritam, that's why Prabhupada wanted every day to recite Sanskrit shlokas during morning time. Then Prabhupada wanted actually, when you are reciting the shlokas, by the time everybody is reciting the verses, you learn the verse. You learn the verse. Like that, Prabhupada wanted like that. Anyway, so reciting the verses, learning the verses. So in your, sometimes you are traveling, right? Take one shloka and then learn it, right? I because you have to focus your mind to learn the verses also, right? Yeah. Abhyasa yoga yuktena, abhyasa yoga yuktena, abhyasa yoga yuktena, abhyasa yoga. So 10 times, my father actually taught me in my childhood, how to remember the, vocabulary, and then equations. My father is very good in his English, so he taught me, write on a piece of paper the words, the meanings, and all. Then while walking and while standing at the bus stop, okay, right? Like that, you remember, memorize. So memory is very important. So Prabhupada, somebody asked, how do we memorize the verses? Prabhupada said, by practice. In recent past, I learned some shlokas. I found the most difficult verses, to remember, is the gopis spoke the verse, in reply to Krishna. Krishna told them, you go away and all that. So they spoke in response. Those shlokas I found very difficult to remember. Practice. Then finally I got. Now I am finding, I am learning Krishna Karnamrita shlokas. My God, it is so difficult. Krishna Karnamrita. What? But it is real pure nectar. Krishna Karnamrita is pure nectar. That's why Mahaprabhu said, there is no book like Krishna Karnamrita. There is no book like Krishna Karnamrita. But those words that he is using, I read so much Bhagavatam and I know so many words of Sanskrit, but I don't find those words usually in Krishna Karnamrita, that words that he used out of ecstasy. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Leela Sukha did not write those verses. Right? He was in ecstasy while going to Vrindavan. Then he started reciting these verses. Like that. So these Krishna Karnamrita verses have two meanings. For each verse has two meanings. One is for sadhakas, another is for rasikas. Means higher in rasa. Like that. Two meanings that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, they wrote commentary. So this They give two meanings. This is sadhaka, this is for sadhaka, this is for rasikas. Like that, this meaning, like that. I'll consider myself very fortunate if I can learn, Krishna Karnamrita verses. If will be 8 shlokas I know. Almost easiest verses to learn is Gajendra Moksha prayers. You can learn. Today morning, I was I 2-3 days I have this sleep cycle broke. So today morning I got up. Then as soon as I get up, I recite Gajendra Moksha's prayers. So usually 3 o'clock, 2:45 like that, alarm rings. Then I started reciting the verses. I said I will get up later, little bit. Then I was reciting the verses. Then somehow sleep आ गया. Still reciting the verses. When I got up, I did 3:40. अरे बाबा, I had to rush like that. So you can easily learn Gajendra Moksha prayers. You try. Then every day morning you recite. Then 2-3 days if I don't recite, I will forget. Then I have to search for a word. अरे क्या हो गया? Like that. Abhyas. Where did Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Abhyasa yoga yuktena. So one Acharya says, Krishna did not teach Jnana yoga, Bhakti yoga or anything. He taught Abhyasa yoga. Abhyas karo. Right? So without doing Abhyas, if you are nonchalant, if you are careless, you cannot become Krishna conscious. Okay, everybody chants. Right? You know what is that japa? Eating japa. Right? Eating japa. So this kind of casual chanting will not give you Krishna prema. Right? Mind is very important. In the mind, you have to focus your mind. Yeah, in order to chant nicely, you have to fix your mind on the sound vibration. So like that. Anyway, so the best way I'm telling you to remember the verses, to focus your mind is to remember the verses and recollect. Right? So that way mind will bend. So when the mind is bent, you can actually focus your mind while chanting Hare Krishna. So you practice Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. So in your free time, take some verses and learn. It's a very great fun. Take some 12, first you start with 12 chapter Bhagavad Gita, then 15 chapter Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, simply don't waste your time, watching YouTube videos and Facebook. Like that. Anyway, so Vedavyas Muni, he understood that people of Kali Yuga cannot remember mantras and all that. So Prabhupada wrote that in order to learn Vedas, Vedic mantras, in order to learn, for a person of intelligent caliber, IQ caliber of IIT students, in order to pass the IIT JEE exam, you need very high level of IQ, intelligence, right? All this regular entrance exam and all, you just remember the equations and all. But in IIT entrance exam, they will give you new problem which you have not already solved. But based on what you learned, in textbooks, you have to apply that knowledge and solve the problems. Otherwise, you won't get. So that's why you need very high level of IQ. So for a person who passed JEE, that kind of IQ, somebody who has, such a person will take 20 years to learn, just 20 years you know, to learn the meanings of Vedic mantras. And the purport, I don't know how many years it will take, but it will take them 20 years to learn the meanings of those Vedic mantras after learning Sanskrit and all that. So difficult. So that is why Prabhupada, writes in the purport, it's very difficult. So for such kind of people, what to do? Right? So in the beginning, he divided Veda, into 4 parts. Because he divided Veda into 4 parts, that's why Veda Vyas. He became Veda Vyas. Because Vyasa means dividing. Because he is born in island, black in color, that's why he became known as Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. Krishna Dvaipayana Muni. So this Krishna Dvaipayana Muni, he wrote a very great epic called Mahabharata, consisting of 1 lakh verses. Right? 1 lakh verses. So the sages have concluded, because he has written Mahabharata, he is incarnation of Vishnu. Because Parasar Muni and all, they are not, incarnation of Vishnu. So they did not write Mahabharata. Because Vedavyas Muni wrote Mahabharata, and then nobody can write such a scripture. That is why he is known as incarnation of Vishnu. So this Mahabharata is written for people like us. Right? Dvijabandhu means a person born in Brahmin family but is not having qualities of a Brahmana. He is called Dvijabandhu. A Kshatriya, a person born in Kshatriya family but he is not having the qualities of Kshatriya. They are called Kshatrabandhu. Or Ashwatthama is known as Brahma Bandhu, not having qualities. Then Striya, Vaishya, Sudra, Dvijabandhu Nam. So for less intelligent people, who are they? We are all less intelligent people. Dvijabandhus, and then Sudras, Vaishyas and women. Because we cannot understand Vedas and all, he wrote Mahabharata. Right? So in Mahabharata is in a story form explaining all the Vedic conclusions. There are so many vratas and yajnas are there. There is some yajna called Garuda Chayana yajna. This yajna was conducted by Rishishunga Muni when while performing Putra Kameshti yajna for having son for Dasharatha Maharaj. What they do with the atta, they make the form of a Garuda. Right? So they take little bit of atta and put it in the fire. It's called Garuda Chayana yajna. Like that. So then for that, you have to chant mantras, and so by doing that Garuda Chayana yajna, you get rains and all that. So it is very difficult to find proper brahmanas to chant and all. Right? So Vedavyas Muni, what he has done is that he has, in Mahabharata, there are some stories. There is a story in Mahabharata, first part, Adi Parva, that Garuda stealing nectar from Indra, from Devatas, because Garuda's mother was actually enslaved by his stepmother, Kadru. Then Garuda, because Garuda was the son of Vinata, so he was also became a son and a slave, and then he has to carry these stupid snakes on his back, and they used to demand, take us for a shire, take us around, take us here. So like that. So Garuda was fed up, carrying this stupid snakes on his back, very degraded job like that. Then he went and asked Vinata, Kadru, that what should I do to, to free my mother and myself from the slavery? Then she said, you bring nectar from the Indra, then I will slave. I will. Then there is this pastime of Garuda fighting with Indra and bringing that nectar. So Vedavyas Muni, he fitted such a beautifully that empowered it. Anybody who reads this story or who hears this story of Garuda stealing, nectar, he will get the benefit of performing Garuda Chayana Yajna. Like that, every story has a power. So if you read that, you will get. So that is why the persons, in Varaha Purana, there is. You don't have to go to these brahmanas, and in order to overcome your graha doshas, you don't have to perform all this chandi yaga, this yaga, and spend money. So there are specific instructions. You have this problem, read so and so story from Mahabharata, so and so story from Ramayana, so and so, especially for all these grahabadas, and grahadoshas. One is advised to recite Sundarakand Ramayana, Sanskrit version. If you recite Sundarakand Ramayana, all grahadoshas will go away. It's so powerful. Like that, so if the child is a spastic, slow learner, recite. Parents should recite Dhruv Maharaj's prayers. Then the child will become intelligent. Like that, for everything. So, for everything, like Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, so many, all these Upanishads are there. Then Rupa, mantra and yantra. There is something called Gopal yantra. They people, Sri Vaishnavas, they have, Shri and Shri Chakram, they install like that. But like that, Gopal yantra is there. If you read the pastime of Krishna, this Brahma stealing the calves and the cowherd boys, then the entire pastime, you will get the benefit of installing a chanting Gopal mantra and then installing Gopal yantra. Simply by reading that pastime. Like that, Vedavyasa Muni wrote all these books, Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, he empowered those pastime stories and all. So for people like us, even without understanding properly, if you can simply read them, you get all the benefits of all this, doing sacrifices, vratas, installing yantras and all this. So very great science. So Mahabharata is not an ordinary scripture. Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest scripture. So this is a contribution of Vedavyas Muni, that he wrote all these books, compiled all these books. Then he has chosen 4 of his disciples, Paila, Vaishampayana Muni, and all that. Then he divided, and then he gave all this various scriptures to various people. Then Srimad Bhagavatam he gave it to Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Mahabharata he gave it to Vaishampayana Muni. Right? I think some portion was narrated by Jaimini Muni also. Like that, so this Brihad Bhagavatamrita is also part of Mahabharata only, narrated by Jaimini Muni Mahabharata. Like that. So all this, this is the greatest contribution of Vedavyas Muni to, then he played a very great role. He is such a great sage that, after the war was over, so, there was a great lamentation, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra Maharaj, Kunti, everybody was lamenting. Then he said, okay, you want to meet them? So he took them to Ganga made them take bath in Ganga. Then all of them they saw, you know. Gandhari saw Duryodhan, Dushasan. They all appeared. So they met again. He said, now you are satisfied? He said, yeah, now. So like that, he has such a great power, Vedas Muni, like that. So it's a very great thing. So then all of you know, so a great son is born to Vedas Muni, Sukdev Goswami, right? And then Sukdev Goswami is such a great personality that when Vedavyas Muni also was sitting in a Bhagavad Katha recited by Sukadeva Goswami. So again he recompiled, you know, Vedavyas Muni has recompiled again after hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, because it became more nectarian after coming, the same Bhagavatam coming from Sukadeva Goswami, it became more nectarian. And then again he recompiled. Right? Then because he was hearing Bhagavatam from his own son, Sukadeva Goswami, like that. He is still there, Vedavyas Muni, Badrikashram. Huh? Huh? Like that. Every day we should remember Vedavyas Muni. That's why please recite that verse every day. What is that verse? Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam. Every day you should recite this verse. Every day. Right? So like this, all these stupid scholars and especially these Western scholars and all, they demean, Vedic literatures. Let them understand. One verse they cannot understand. They say it's compiled by some Adivasis and all. They cannot understand one verse. Right? Nobody can write like Vedavyas Muni. In the entire history, right? Like Hridayananda Maharaj was saying that a professor was glorifying Prabhupada. Even for the most accomplished writer, they can produce one book once in 2-3 years. This Chetan Bhagat, somebody, right? This, Chetan. So if you see, he's very popular, but he writes a book, once in 3 years. Right? There is this communist lady, Arundhati Roy. She wrote a book, Children of Lesser God or something like that, right? God of Small Things. Throughout her life, she wrote only one book, Huh? And then recently she wrote some book, criticizing Modi and all that. So that's it. Very difficult to produce literature, Yeah, they have to be on a higher level of consciousness. Then only even writing fiction books also, they have to imagine so many things, right? So difficult to produce a book, So this guy also produces once in 3-4 years one book, Chetan Bhagat, right? Like that. But he glorified Prabhupada. In 11 years, he wrote 70 books. This is not ordinary. He is not an ordinary person. That professor was glorifying Prabhupada. Right? Nobody can write like Prabhupada, Just, if you read Bhagavatam every day, you will understand what are how complicated the words are. And then Prabhupada actually has to translate the words according to the, context of that shloka, like that. And then write translation. And then if you read Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary, most of the things you will not understand. Sridhar Swami's commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary is better. Sridhar Swami's commentary, Sanatana Goswami's commentary, Jiva Goswami, all scholarly, Vidwan, highly, you know, uh, technical. Sanskrit language, this word, that word, Atmaipada, Parasmaipada, all that they say. Prabhupada actually has to take out all the meanings, the important, you know, he put in the purports, which we can understand. If you read Prabhupada's commentary on first verse of Bhagavatam, and then Vishwanath Thakur wrote 5 versions of commentary, all Greek and Latin for us. You cannot understand only all very complicated arguments and. But if you read Prabhupada books, reading Prabhupada books is just like eating kela. you know, just take out. Sometimes some people they bring some um, complicated fruits, like pineapple and all. I said, who will cut and give me? Don't bring pineapple, but bring some chota kela or something. Just take it and eat. Like that, reading Prabhupada books is just like eating kela. Just take out a book and read. You will understand. Like that. Anyway, so these great personalities, they wrote books. Vedavyas Muni, they say, so the stupid people, we should not believe them. Anyway, such a great personality. So, just imagine, Mahabharat consists of 1 lakh verses. I think it took them 3.5 years for both Ganesh and Vedavyas Muni to compile this book, Mahabharat. 3.5 years. Continuous. All of you know, no? The who remembers the Grandhi Shloka of Mahabharat? I explained. What is the condition of Ganesh to write Mahabharat? Huh?
Most of one sloka is very difficult, and Ganesh could not understand the actual. Every 50
So Ganesh told, you have to recite, dictate continuously. You should not stop. Then Vedavyas put a condition that without understanding the shloka of meaning of the shloka, you should not write. Right? So there are 8,000 Grandhi shlokas in Mahabharata, which is very, very difficult for Ganesh to understand. Then he would stop to understand. So by that time, Vedavyas compiled 54 verses, I think. Every 54 or every 58th verse is difficult verse. Like that. So then he would compile. Like that. Then again, after few verses, again Vedavyas would put this difficult shloka. you know. Then again, then Ganesh would stop and then think. like that. Attashula Janapadaha Shivashulaha Dvijatayah Kaminyaha Shulingya. So this is one of the Grandhi shloka. Attashula, Sholaha Dvijatayaha. Attashulaha Janapadaha Shivashulaha Dvijatayaha. Attashula Janapadaha means Atta means rice, Shula means selling. So rice selling. So Kali Yuga, he described Kali Yuga. What is Kali Yuga? Where they sell rice. Previously, there are no hotels. Only dharmashalas were there. People were distributing food like that. Now hotels are there. Menu cards, like that. Shivashula Dvijataya. Shivashula Dvijataya means Brahmanas, they sell God. And then Kaminyaha Keshashulinya. Women selling their manam. Man means prostitutes. Like that. Anyway, so like this, he would compile all these verses, like that. So somebody was researching. There are so many verses like this, which will very difficult to understand, like that. And these guys, they say, the Vedas are, written by Adivasis and all that stuff. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Let's have Kirtan, dancing Kirtan. Yes. Okay, we'll have Prashad here after Kirtan.
Vijay, very nice.
Cheers.
Please, yeah, request, please don't leave without taking Prashad. Please don't leave without taking Prashad. Hare Krishna. And if anybody has come newly, we have his name Sudarshan Madhav Prabhu. Please give your contacts here. If anybody has come newly, please don't start serving Prashad, please.
Okay, leave it. Haribol. Take Prashant. Everybody is leaving. Late ho gaya.
Okay, please start taking Prashad. Mahaprashade Govinde, Nama Brahmane Vaishnave,